Happy Thanksgiving. Psst, Jason. Yes? It's not even close to Thanksgiving. Well, what day is it? What does it have to do with today's topic? You're right. It has nothing to do with what day it is today. But you know what does? Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a time when we as humans give thanks to everything around us. Every little thing that we take for granted is appreciated during Thanksgiving. But it brings up an interesting question. How did Thanksgiving come to be? And was the relationship between the natives and pilgrims as simple as the history books tell us? Let's find out. To get to the bottom of this mystery, we first have to figure out who are the Pilgrims and where did they come from. The Puritans, soon to be known as the Pilgrims, were a group of radicals who originally belonged to the Church of England, but eventually broke from that church and joined the England Separatist Church. Well, that was nice of the Church of England to let those Puritans break from the church. I mean, it wouldn't harm them for letting them take all their, tithes and offerings away. Well, that's not exactly how it happened. The Puritans illegally broke from the Church of England due to religious differences. Well, what makes that illegal? They just wanted religious freedom. In those times though, religious freedom wasn't even a thought. After the Puritans broke from the Church of England, things got very interesting. Unable to stay in hostile England due to the crime they had committed, the Puritans went to Switzerland for a little bit. Switzerland was basically the utopia for the new refugees. So what would make them leave? What would make them leave the perfect place for them? The fear and the money they had were the two factors that made the Puritans leave Switzerland. Not wanting to lose their English heritage and their economic struggles forced the Puritans with two difficult decisions. A, go back to England and face the consequences, or B, stay in Switzerland and lose your heritage. B. No, silly. They chose C, to go to the New World. That wasn't even a choice. Now, you may be wondering how the economically struggling Puritans were able to buy a boat and food to last them a whole long trip to the New World. Well, in 1620, the Puritans joined the London Stock Company that helped fund the Mayflower. That same year, in September, the Puritans set sail for the New World. The Puritans did have a set destination. They wanted to land near the Hudson River in Virginia. However, natural barriers and sickness rerouted them. In a sense, the Puritans are kind of like Columbus' crew. They both wanted a better life, or they both wanted to find something that could help them have a better life. And both of them didn't get to their desired destinations. That's true. But at least the Puritans mapped everything out correctly, unlike Columbus. Sorry, man. Anyway, by November 1620, after 2 months on the sea, the Puritans finally reached Cape Cod. The Pilgrims were explorers both in the physical and mental sense. They saw a new future which led them to exploring across the dangerous, unfamiliar territory to them. They explored ideas. Most people at that time, if they were told what church they belonged to, wouldn't have challenged the idea. The Pilgrims, however, explored the thought of free will and challenged the church, regardless of the consequences. Dora will be proud. After that long boat ride, a lot of Pilgrims died. And as a whole, they needed a lot of help. Some of us may think that right when the Mayflower landed, the natives and Pilgrims met face to face. But that's definitely not how it happened. For months, all the Pilgrims ever saw from the natives were their shadows. When contact was made with the native, Squanto, for the first time, the crippled group of Pilgrims captured him. Wow, that is so messed up. That's like me asking you for your scissors, only to cut your paper in half. Why did they capture Squanto? They intended to turn him into a slave. However, before they could do that, Squanto was gone. He escaped. No one knew until it was too late. Now, you would think that meant war, but the natives were way more peaceful than that. I guess the only thing that came good out of the capture of Squanto was the new information the natives got of the new settlers. Squanto probably ran off to his village and told them what he saw. Now, with this new knowledge that they have and the new knowledge the Pilgrims have, both sides knew that they could trade. Ever since the incident, the only face-to-face communication the Pilgrims and the natives made was for trade. This unspoken truce that the both sides had was exactly what the Pilgrims needed. Soon, the two groups made a treaty. With this treaty, a lot of exchanges occurred. Squanto, the native that was captured by the Pilgrims, taught the Pilgrims how to plant corn, a much-needed crop for them. And Squanto also taught them how to hunt fish and beaver in exchange for different types of crops from England. Also, the natives exchanged the knowledge of the area the Pilgrims were in for knowledge about medicine. With the help given by the natives, the first English settlement was made in Plymouth Rock in 1620. To show their gratitude, the Pilgrims invited the chief and people from the Wampanoag tribe to join them for a feast. Of course, the chief accepted. However, the Pilgrims didn't have enough food to feed the chief and the 90 tribe members. With this in mind, the chief ordered the men to hunt 4 deer. Wow, that was a nice ending. The two of them must have been great friends. At first, maybe, but as time went on, things began to change. First, from the time the Pilgrims landed on the New World and so on, the plague started to spread across the native tribes. The Pilgrims brought diseases they were immune to the natives. 25,000 natives lived in the Cape Cod area before the Pilgrims came. The plague brought that 25,000 number to a measly about 5,000. Of course, at the time, no one knew for sure why the natives were dying, but the natives put 2 and 2 together, and some blamed the settlers. Also, although the natives helped the Pilgrims so much, the Pilgrims started taking a lot more land than allowed, weakening the trust and bond between the two groups. Taking natives as slaves wasn't a good idea either. At the end of the day, the relationship between the Pilgrims and natives isn't how most of us know it as. The Pilgrims were a brave bunch, exploring ideas of free will and exploring unknown terrain. Those acts right there made them DORA certified. They encountered a new culture and new ideas. With that encounter, they exchanged food, beliefs, weapons, tools, and much more. Although their relationship wasn't as innocent as we were told, their relationship formed a widely celebrated holiday in the United States. Now, every time I think of Thanksgiving, I'm gonna think of betrayal and death. Thanks, Jason. No problem. 'Cause you know what they say? Bradford and the other Plymouth settlers were not originally known as Pilgrims, but as Old Combers. This changed after the discovery of a manuscript by Bradford in which he called the settlers who left Holland Saints and Pilgrims. In 1820, at a bicentennial celebration of the colony's foundation, the orator Daniel Webster referred to Pilgrim Fathers, and the term stuck.